Hello and welcome to another edition of the Iain Dale
Got
Book
it.
Club podcast. I'm Iain
Yeah.
Dale. Today we're going to talk about a very different kind of book, because normally on this podcast, as you know, we talk about politics, we talk about current affairs, a bit of sport. Well, today we're going to talk about historical fiction. Sarah Ferguson, the Duchess of York, has written a new book called Her Heart for a Compass, which I think is a brilliant title for a book. Sarah, welcome to the podcast. Why did you decide to change from writing children's books to this kind of book?
Well, Iain, thank you very much for having me on your podcast, and hello everybody listening. And I'm sorry it's not a sports book or a financial book or a political book. Well, it's a book about the experiences and experimenting with the experiences of the heart and following the truth or authentic truth of within yourself. So it's a really interesting place for me to go. And I am a debut novelist, and I'm 62 years old, and I'm delighted to be able to talk to you today. The most important thing is that I've written 74 books, and out of that, 2 are historical coffee table type books with Weidenfeld and Nicholson, are based on young Victoria. Oh, sorry, the Queen Victoria and Albert. And then I made the film, The Young Victoria.
Yeah.
And then the children's books, and I wrote 10 self-help books because, of course, in my course of 35 years in public life, I've been ups and downs and rounds and lots of different ways off a roundabout. And I decided to try my hand at writing a novel. I have wanted to do it for 25 years, maybe 18 years. And I thought I never could do this and I would never be a novelist, but I knew I had the vision to be able to do it. And so I just went into HarperCollins, went up to Lisa Milton and Rebecca Brooks and said, I think we should do a novel. And then I went to Mills and Boon, and they very kindly asked Marguerite Kay if she would help me, assist me to write this novel. So it really is a collaboration of me not wanting to give up and me wanting to get Lady Margaret. My middle name's Margaret. I wanted to get Lady Margaret onto the page about a woman that follows her heart, even though in 1870 everybody said that she was wrong, breaking the rules and breaking with what was then done in 1870, that she had to go off and get married to the person her father wanted her to marry.
We'll come on to the main character in a moment, but it's published by Mills and Boon. And I think people have an image of a Mills and Boon book, which actually I don't think this book really fits into in some ways. It's not the sort of classic Barbara Cartland style love story in a way. It is a proper historical novel.
Iain, I take that as an enormous compliment. It is the first time that Mills and Boon have been on the Sunday Times bestseller list because of the detail and the historical research that I did in really loving each page, each line, studying the Crimea War. And it is Her Heart for a Compass. It really is a testament to my heart of how I look at life every day. And I look at, and I smell, and I feel. And so each line is capturing the slums of East End of London in 1870. You can imagine what it was like. Then, so going back to your point you just made, it's not a regular Mills and Boon book. I think that was what my challenge was. I think, I spend my life being stigmatized or put in a certain box as being redheaded and rather strange and eccentric and all these other kind of things. But I'm intensely serious about joy. I'm intensely serious about life. And I really, being a redhead, you're always, from 62 years, you're always either carrot top or copper knob or whatever else they want to call you. And so I suppose that's why I support the LGBTQ plus group big time. And I wish I could be, do the Rainbow Awards tonight. But it's because it's a place. When I went and made a speech the other day, I got up on stage and I thanked everybody there, because I said it's the only place I don't feel judged, that I can be creative, that I can be myself and be able to speak out of, in everybody else's eyes, as this weirdo, but I'm just me. And so, yes, when Mills and Boon said, well, we'd love to publish it, and Rebecca Books is a great supporter of Mills and Boon, I was really proud that I was representing a company that has been around 100 years, that has helped women through World War One, World War Two. And I stand really proud about the fact that during the pandemic, I was able to write a novel which took my mind away from the situation, and I threw myself into the pages, very similar to what Mills and Boon does with the escapism for people.
Has this whole experience been a bit of an escape for you? Because I mean, I was very struck of your self-description there, that you think people see you as a weirdo. Do you really think that?
Well, I think, I don't know this word weirdo. I think, I don't really know what it means, actually. Maybe I should look it up. But what I think is that I love to, you know, Frank McCourt once said with Angela's Ashes, I said, how do you see life? And he said, oh, well, I don't see the seasons as a thing. I see the blossom trees as pink trees, and the autumn I see as orange and gold trees. And he said, I suppose it's my childish way that I always look at life with this sense of great color. And I look at it like that. Everything seems to be a story. I don't know, Iain, if you ever sit in a cafe somewhere and you watch the world go by and you make up stories as you go, who's doing what's happening there, and why did that person go that way and not that way. And so I see life as an adventure. I see it as a story. I really love what I do, but it can be seen as different.
Yeah, I think the word that I think most people would associate with you is not weirdo, it's actually fun. You even though you've had some deep troughs in your life, you always, when I see you meeting people, you always look as if you have this enormous sense of fun.
I do. And that's why when you said, well, don't worry, we'll only keep to 20 to 25 minutes. I thought, no, we won't. We'll go on for hours if you want to. It's
oh,
just
don't tempt me. Some of my podcasts are 2 hours long. That's a really bad thing to say to me.
We'd get on very well, Iain. But well, it's only because you love what you're doing. And I'm not sitting here talking to you about a book. I'm here with my heart talking to you. And it happens to be we got on here because of the book. But actually, there's so many different things that I suppose that's why I do children's, really, because when I'm in reading story time, or I'm little Kitty, could you see if Little Red and Little Blue are around? When I'm wherever I go, like on the borders in Poland now, and I've invented a thing called Play in a Box, Iain, because I think to myself, if a child's coming over the border and you've just been in a bunker in a cellar for 5 days with rats and it's freezing cold and there's no you can't see anything, you're 4 or 5, your mom's crying, dad's at war, you don't know what on earth's going on. You need to escape into a colouring, or somebody's given you a wrap or a cap or a football, and you can play football with your mates. And so I've invented a thing called Play in a Box, which is, so you could do cricket in a bag if it's in India or wherever, or it doesn't have to be on the borders of war zones, it can be anywhere. And you get your little box, and out of it comes any character. This is Little Blue, actually. I invented him in 1992, and he was for the children of Poland then. And
should say for those listening, so I was holding up two, how do I describe them? They're sort of dolls, aren't they?
Yes,
sort of.
They're rag dolls.
Yeah.
And they stand at 15 inches each. For those, sorry, I forgot people are listening and not just looking. Oh dear. And it's actually very important, because the other day, Iain, I did a really, really wonderful, I really enjoyed it. It was for the RNIB, and I really had a lovely time, and it made me go off and decide to write Little Red and Little Blue into Braille books, because I thought we must do more for the visually impaired. And so anyway, I'll describe it then. So Little Blue, he wears dungarees. He has a bee on top of his bonnet, not in his on his bonnet, not in his bonnet, because I thought that was funny. And Little Red, she was invented to save the lives of children from the Oklahoma City bombing. and Little Boo was invented to save the lives of children in Poland. And Little Red was the only object to survive the North Tower of 9/11, because I started a foundation to help the children of Oklahoma City, to thank the American people for giving me so much of my life. They gave me a great job for 12 years, and it really helped me after I got divorced. And so I said thank you to America with Little Red. And Howard Lutnick of Cantor Fitzgerald gave me an office on the 101st floor of the World Trade Center. And Little Red came down from 101 floors, and she was found in the rubble.
Wow.
And CNN filmed it and said, look, a child's doll. And Larry King said, no, that's Fergie's Little Red. And she stands for children's rights all over the world. And if you go to Ground Zero Museum now, you see her in a glass case like Sleeping Beauty, and it says the only object. So Little Red is going to Croatia next week, and she's going to bring out Play in a Box by Little Red.
You've had to reinvent yourself a lot over the years, and I mean, just in that 5 minutes there, you've described about 5 different things that you've got involved with, that you've invented, that you've started. Do you quite enjoy that process, and sort of every so often thinking, okay, I'm going to do something new now? I mean, writing a novel is the latest example, I guess.
Well, good question, Ian. I'm very positive. So the minute that I make a ginormous mistake, whatever it might be, when I didn't follow my heart, didn't listen to my instinct, is the minute that I restock and I go, why did you do that? Why didn't you listen to yourself? Why didn't you understand and read the room better? Weren't you a bit tone deaf at that time? And perhaps you could learn. So then you go seek help and you say, look, I've made a major mistake, and I'd like to learn how to forgive myself and move on, but also forgive whatever happened, and just put it behind us and move on. And in learning that, it sort of frees you up more to create something else, in my case, because I think wearing a hair shirt all the time with you plod around carrying so much weight of so many different things you could have done differently, it just really doesn't really get you anywhere.
Do you feel that maybe sometimes you're too trusting of people? You see the best in people, and without wondering necessarily what their motives are, because when you are a member of the royal family, when you've been a member of the royal family, there are lots of people who want a bit of you, and they want a bit of you for their own maybe selfish reasons. Do you think that that's been a problem over the years, where you've trusted people that maybe shouldn't have had your trust?
Ian,
so I'm putting you on the couch.
No, you're
moment,
not.
aren't I?
No, I was about. No, you're absolutely right. No, I was about to answer you with, well done knowing me so well. Do you know what it is, Ian? I am far too trusting, and my girls call me, I'm like a big puppy dog, a Labrador. Be kind to me, and I'll, and I fall into, yeah, exactly, yeah, and I fall into so many traps. Well, and in the past more than now, because I maybe have learned at last, but it's because I don't look at, I cannot, I asked a first responder the other day, Ian, I said, how do you go in you're a firefighter and you go in and see the most incredible, terrible situations? How is it you're not so traumatized by what you see? I just couldn't, I just couldn't do it. And he said, well, I couldn't go up on a stage and talk to 1,000 people. I don't know how you do that. And I suddenly realized that actually I couldn't do it because my mind's not trained like that. His mind is not trained like my mind. So everybody's mind's different. So my mind is not trained that someone's trying to set me up or someone's trying to trick me. Because I believe and I have compassion, and I believe I could not do that to another. Therefore, I naively, yes, I agree, fall into the traps because I think, well, no one could be like that. No one would be cruel like that. And now I found out the hard way, didn't I?
Yeah. And I think it's something that, in a sense, comes with age. In that I always say I didn't know myself until I was 50. which sounds an odd thing to say in a way, but I think by the time you get to 50, you realize what you're good at, what you're not good at. And also in a sense, you become slightly more cynical as you get older, and you learn from experiences where you have been exploited by people who you had thought a lot of, but they let you down. Is that something that you've experienced, that the older you get, the more streetwise you get?
Hold on a minute. I need to think about my answer. I would like to believe that I am at that place right now, Iain. Yes. I think it's sad I have to think so hard before walking into a room, before opening my big mouth, yeah, and making a mistake. I find it sad that I have to be like that, because it means that I'm having to edit and script myself, which I never have done. But now I have to. You're absolutely right. Does that make me street smart? And yes, I think older, wiser, savvy, and I'm not going to say the grow up word because I can't, but I think I might have to use the grow up word. And I think it's really interesting, because I think social media makes it very, very hard as well, because there's so many troll warriors out there. They all have a view. They all either like it or they don't. It's like Marmite. I 50% like you, 50% don't. It's tough. So I think the only thing we can do is just carry on.
Let's go back to the book, because that is what we're here to talk about. The main character, tell me more about her, because she is based on somebody real and someone that was your ancestor. That's
right. Can I just say, because I know you'll edit it and cut it and everything, Iain, you've got a great voice. You do really well. You're doing really well, and you're such a nice person. Why are you such a nice person?
Oh, now don't start interviewing me. This is always what happens in these interviews. That it comes back to me, and it's not about me. But look, I mean, I like to think I sort of do good interviews, because I don't do them as interviews. I do them as conversations. And that's what we're having now, a conversation, rather than me saying, well, Sarah Ferguson, justify yourself on this. And I mean, that doesn't get you anywhere, does it? I mean, if I'd started off with that, you would have clammed up right from the start.
Probably no, probably not. Probably I would have gone, oh, a challenge.
Anyway, back to your main character.
Okay, sorry. Yes. Okay, yeah. So I actually decided that how is it that I can laugh, I can play, and I have this sense of really just life. I love it. So I researched back to find my ancestors who had red hair and who were very strong and it must be in my DNA, because it's just natural for me to have the joie de vivre. I just naturally have it. I just love it. And the puppy dog, and so in researching back, it went all the way back to the 15th century, where there was a redhead who was incredibly similar to me. And then I went all the way forward, and I found Lady Margaret, and Lady Margaret Montague Douglas Scott from my grandmother's family.
Great
and of
name.
Course, isn't it cool? And also because she had 5 brothers, I think, and they were all written about, but no one had bothered about the woman, Lady Margaret. And so I sort of course, took her, realized that she's a relative of mine, so therefore let's make her more like me, poor lady. And then
see, there you go again.
I'm sorry.
There you go again, sort of saying poor her. Why? I mean, I think in many ways, a lot of women in particular, maybe a lot of redheads, look at you as a bit of a role model in some ways, and yet you're sort of slightly downplaying I think the image that you have with a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think that comes from, I think I've still got a long way to go on the mental side of it. I've still got to be kinder to Sarah. I'm very kind to myself. Sorry, I don't want to put the Sarah word, but to be kinder to myself and not say comments like that, and don't call myself a weirdo. I've got to stop that. And I think it's a work in progress. I think I'm a canvas that is still being painted. And so therefore, you're right. Good catch, Iain. Good catch. The lady, I do think it's interesting that to learn to receive and to forgive yourself. And I think that Lady Margaret had to, in the book I write about that, because I have to do that myself. And when someone smiles to you, receive the smile. Don't just say, oh, that's nice, or no, receive it and understand there are many people out there that that you don't want to let them down by punishing yourself too much, and then you turn into victim and all that. So that's not me, but I do think that was a good catch, Iain. Thank you. I'll learn from that.
Something you just said there again, and we're veering off the character again, but you said let people down. Is that a constant fear that you feel that you do let people down?
No, I don't intentionally ever actually. But if I do, then I don't like that that I have, and so I don't think that's something that I go out of my way. I have no intention of sorry, someone just, I have no my intentions are always from my heart. And actually, we're not really deviating from the book, Iain, because my character, Lady Margaret, in the book is very true to how I felt when I started writing the book, very lacking in confidence, thinking I couldn't do it. And you see, as you get more into Lady Margaret, she grows in confidence and then goes off to New York and America. And of course, that's what I did. And so I think it's quite exciting, Iain, that my confidence has grown from learning and achieving a novel. Now I've finished my second book, and that comes out in February. And I'm very interested that my character in the second book, again, is a relative of mine, is even more confident than Lady Margaret. So my third book, which I'm now starting, is now me now, who you're talking to. And I wonder, I think I don't know what I'm going to get her to do. But anyway, it's pretty exciting that I feel more happy right now than I've ever felt actually in my life.
Well, you're about, I think, 3 novels. That almost makes you prolific. Is that now where you see yourself sort of maybe concentrating on writing novels for the next few years?
Yeah. Yes, I love it. I love it. For example, I've decided to learn French, Iain.
Why? I mean, if you're going to learn a language, why French?
Because it brings happy memories back of my best friend at school. And so I was taught French well at school and had forgotten it. So I decided to learn it. And anyway, I like France, and I like to go to the markets and to Provence and to walk in with the sunflowers. And so I decided it would be a good thing to do. And so my heroine in my next book, of course, is going to go from England to France. And then maybe I could do, because I'll be so fluent by then, I can do all the interviews in French. Why not?
Good luck with
but
that.
Also, I also would love to make. I think French film and television is very good, actually, and I think that Her Heart for a Compass should be made into a TV series.
Well, I think it actually could be, because I think there is a real appetite now for historical drama. I mean, you look at, I don't know if you watch it, but the Gentleman Jack on a Sunday evening at the moment with Suran Jones, which I have to say I can't stand, but my partner makes me watch it while we're having Sunday dinner. And I mean, when I knew that I was going to interview, I did think to myself, well, there was a few parallels here. It's a similar time period. And I think it's absolutely ideal for television. But how do you do I mean, it is a novel, but you've clearly done a lot of research into to get it right from a historical viewpoint. How long did that take, and what was the process? How did you do it?
Well, I'm very lucky to have an amazing lady called Sue, and she lives about 10 minutes away, but she just devours books. I mean, literally devours books, any kind of book. She just is an extraordinary, I call her my walking library. And she's just gold dust, because I say, okay, Sue, we're at East End. We've just got out of our carriage, and what would be happening then and there? You know, so would there be? Where would the slums be? Where would the sewers be? What would happen? you know, and so she then goes and researches every single movement from when I get out of the carriage and with the skirts, and I put my little lavender nosegay up to my nose because all that diddly dee, and so then she sends me the relevant chapters to read on exactly that bit of history on that day, on that week, in that year, and then I'm able to get the color and the feeling and absorb myself into the history of it. And then of course that helps me to learn history as well. It's fascinating.
Did you know that you have something in common with Anne Widdecombe? Because when she writes her novel, she does exactly what you're doing. She did a love story called An Act of Treachery, and it was set in Second World War Paris. Now, obviously, she didn't know anything about Second World War Paris. And she said to me once, she said, the thing that I dread most in writing a novel is that I have a chiming clock. I said, what on earth do you mean by that? And she said, well, Shakespeare, in one of his books, I can't remember which one it was, had a chiming clock. I think it was one set in ancient Rome, and it had a chiming clock. And of course, there were no chiming clocks.
I'm writing that down, so yeah.
There were no chiming clocks in ancient Rome. So even Shakespeare got it wrong. And so she also talked to lots of people who were around in Second World War Paris to make sure that she didn't have a chiming clock in her book. And it sounds as if it's the same approach that you're taking.
That is a huge compliment, because that means that I thought that's really good, because it means that not only is it not a chiming clock, but you sort of look at like Bethlehem, like Bedlam, right? Is Bethlehem Hospital actually, but they just went, you've done Bedlam, you know, and actually then I wanted to know, right, well, what happens in Bedlam and how did you, what went on? And no, I need to know. So I actually thought you meant chiming clock, because come on, the publisher wants the book.
No,
because by the time
we all
I've
have
gone
that
to
one.
oh, Iain, and you know, because I absorbed myself so much into wanting to know about. No, but why did they go to Bedlam and what happened? And you know, and that sort of sense of just, you know, wanting to know. And that's why I did the film Young Victoria, because I thought, well, heavens, there's such a beautiful love story between Albert and Victoria. Why has no one done the love story? And no one had. But that's why I did it. But also now I'm fascinated, because my next thing I'm doing, Iain, is I'm fascinated why, if 0 to 5 of a child's mind, I'm a grandmother, 2 grandchildren, and I have really good girls, if 0 to 5 of a child's mind is formed by good mothering or good parenting at that time, like Prince Albert had a great mother, very young, who taught him music, laughter, happiness from 0 to 5. And then she was taken away and on her way to a mental institute because her husband didn't want her. And so I'm fascinated in Prince Albert's mother, Louise, that nobody's done anything about. So I think that'll be my next film, which will be this great exhibition starting with Albert's great achievement for Britain, which we see till today with the Royal Horticultural Society, with Imperial College London, all that's, you know, everything he achieved, V&A, everything. And how did he do it? Died at 41, 42. And he achieved the great exhibition. So I think my film will start with his achievement and then take it back to the history of how his mum was always in his heart.
I've got another idea for you for a book.
Okay.
When I was watching the ITV series on Queen Victoria, I thought one of the most interesting characters was actually her mother, who
oh yes,
I can't even remember her name now, but she had this
Duchess
really weird relationship with one of the courtiers who seemed to control her. And I thought, I mean, that would make a brilliant subject for a sort of a kind of, well, it's kind of faction, isn't it? Not fiction and not fact. Yeah. It's mixing the two, I suppose, a bit like the whole Queen Victoria series in a way does. But I thought she was a fascinating character.
Well, she absolutely was so fascinating that's why she was determined to have her baby on British soil. So imagine 6 weeks in a carriage being thrown around with being pregnant. But she managed to hold Victoria all that way just so that she could be born on British soil. So she could be, well, I mean, she knows she was going to have a girl, but the child could be the future. And I think that's extraordinary. But also, the other thing about her is that they did fight all the time, and she was over controlling for Victoria. But then, if you go just down the road for 5 miles, you see the most enormous mausoleum to the Duchess of Kent, and you see everything that Victoria did to honour her mother. And I find that fascinating. And I agree with you, Conway is a very serious subject matter. And I think thank you very much for that idea, Iain. You'll have to help me with it.
Well, if you do it, I'm on to credit in the forward.
Oh, of course. But actually, Gentleman Jack, it's rather like, did you remember seeing the film The Favourite?
I haven't seen it, no.
No, it's just, I just sort of wish they wouldn't go quite so off-piste. You know, it's such a good story, and it's a true story, and the diaries, but just don't go too much into the bonkers, because for me, from my side of it, I want to follow the storyline, and it suddenly jumps around a bit too much, I think, and but I can understand what they're trying to achieve.
Let's talk a little bit about your two daughters, because obviously they're both married now. One of them's got two, as you said, two children. Does it feel weird to you? Is that word again? Does it feel weird to you being a grandmother?
Actually, I'm going to ask someone. Could you just look up the word weirdo or weirdo? So Iain, just quickly, I have. My average age is 3 to 6, isn't it? My children's books. What does it say? You have to read it to me. I haven't got my glasses.
It says a person whose dress or behaviour seems strange or eccentric.
Oh, well, there you are. Did you hear that?
I did.
No. Did you? Okay.
I did, yeah.
Oh, you did hear it. Okay,
Yeah.
good. There are my glasses, yes. A person whose dress or behaviour seems strange or eccentric. The streets are dangerous and there are too many weirdos around. Oh, well.
I don't think
Then
anyone's
we
thought
like
of you as
the word weirdo.
dangerous, have they?
No. So exactly. So Iain, my girls are, we call ourselves the tripod. We are just so lucky. I have a great, really phenomenal relationship with them. And Beatrice always says to me, Mum, you know, I want Sienna and I to have the same relationship as you and I have. And I said, well, the secret of what I did with you was, I never forgot that once I was a teenager and slammed the door. Two, I think that you have to remember that when children are very little, they talk about their fears as dragons. When they get to teenagers, they go slam the door, and they don't know how to express this anxiety feeling inside of them, and puberty and going through this, which is why I do the teenage cancer units. And have done for 30 years, actually. I think it's 29 units opened in 30 years. And it's because I love to spend time with the teenagers that are going through puberty and adolescence and then get cancer. And then the nurses and doctors come in and say, oh, we know how you feel. No, you don't know how they feel because you've forgotten, mate. Go back and remember what it's like. You lose your voice. And so the Teenage Cancer, Adrian and Mona Weinson and Teenage Cancer Trust started these units on, and the first hospital we opened was in Middlesex Hospital. I'll never forget it. The nurses were in blue jeans and Doc Martens, and there was music and walls were painted, and the teenagers, I think it was about a 14-bed unit at the time, they were allowed to express themselves, and they played pool, and in just the atmosphere changing, of course the cancer is positive. Cancer doesn't like positivity. And so the reason why I said that, Iain, is because your question was, how do you relate to your grandchildren? I think you just be present. You don't rush in the door and put your hands out and say, oh, have a cuddle. Well, hold on a minute. They're just 8 months old and 15 months old. They're probably going, oh, who's that? You know, just be gentle, be still, sit quietly and wait for them to explore, to see who this older lady is in the room or whatever. So I have a really lovely time with them, and I'm there as much as they wish or not.
And I suspect, I mean, you went through what every other parent goes through when you clearly have a very close bond with both your daughters. And when they eventually flew the nest, I mean, was that quite a difficult adjustment for you to make? Because I think I know my mother, I mean, I've got two sisters, and one of my sisters stayed around and lived very close to my parents. But I think all parents find that adjustment very difficult, where you spend 18 years or 20 years or however long with them as a constant presence, and then suddenly they're not there anymore.
Oh my gosh, Ian. It was, I think I cried when they got engaged. Because I suddenly, my babies.
Yeah.
but I'm very open with it, with them about it, and now I've understood that they create their own islands, and they have to create their own islands. And but it did take me quite a long time, because of course, as you know now from this interview and with the amount of children's books I've written, my children are my everything, and I love playing with them and love having fun with them during the day and in the evening now. I mean, it's quite useful with Jack, when he got engaged and married to Eugenie, of course, worked for a tequila company, which helps enormously.
Well, if it was an arranged marriage, you chose well.
Oh, my pod fell out. Wait, hold on, Ian, coming back. Oh. And then I've known, oh, thanks, Kitty. I've known Edo, Beatrice's husband, since he was born, because his brother's my godson, and so we're very close. And it's kind of, that's really good, because he was my friend before they got married. So I can say to him, hey, son-in-law or friend.
And I think one of the things that I really admire about you is the way that, and I'm slightly straying onto private territory here, so tell me to shut up if you want, but I think the way that you and Andrew have managed to maintain a good relationship since the divorce, because that doesn't happen with everybody, does it? And I think that clearly that's been, I think your daughters have both probably really appreciated the fact that you have been able to remain close.
He's a very, very good and very kind man. He really is, and he really understands the art of communication with me, and trust, and the 3 C's. Communicate. Wait, hold on a minute. Here, Errol, can you show Ian? This is Errol. He's definitely Errol Flynn. For anyone listening,
sense a dog moment, and I was right.
And you are, well, yeah. I'd hardly had Errol Flynn on my lap.
And what breed is Errol?
Norfolk Terrier.
Fantastic.
Why does everyone show you their dog?
Well, they know that I love dogs. I have 2 of my own, a miniature schnauzer and a Jack Russell. So
oh, okay. So it was okay.
We've bonded already.
Yeah, but he's a Norfolk Terrier with a black coat on.
Is that
so
unusual?
It looks like he's got a little blanket on. He doesn't at all. Anyway, he is mine, and he is, of course, he's Errol Flynn, because swashbuckling. You know. Anyway, so what was I saying? We
were talking about your relationship with Andrew.
Oh yes, and so he's a very good, very kind man, and we really do communicate, compromise with compassion. So I will stand by him, and just, it's an incredible friendship, and not just co-parenting, it's just real, it's just real. And and thank goodness the girls have got, well, he's growing up very in sort of naval, and this is how it's done, and very royal life, and then they have the river running by, which is me.
Again, you're going to probably want to switch the camera off now, but there's a lot of people, when I've talked about you to people over the years, they've all said, well, I say they've all, some have said, I just wish they'd get back together and have a happy ending.
How funny is that, Ian? Everybody says that to me too. The thing is, I don't know whether I think the happy ending really is, I mean, really, our fairy tale happy ending is the way we are today, and the way we lead by example, with the ability to have the sense of understanding of each other. I don't think I would ever wish to go into anything where I can't just jump around and be a sense of freedom. And I think that is the key to it, is that I love to be free. I really do. And I don't know, I suppose it's because I like to go to Poland tomorrow if I wish to, or if I want to go to Rwanda. Oh goodness, I think I was meant to be in Rwanda. And I just love the way I am. So I think this is a good fairy tale ending.
We're recording this the day before the Jubilee celebrations start. You're in a slightly odd position because you've sort of got one foot in the royal family and one foot out. Will you feel part of the celebrations? And I mean, it's an amazing thing that for all of your life, for all of my life, we've never known anything else other than the Queen. I mean, she, apart from our siblings, she's the only constant in our whole lives, isn't she, in a way? And it is such a remarkable achievement.
Well, absolutely, that is slightly nerve-wracking, isn't it? Long may she reign. She has been in all our lives. I mean, and I'm asked a lot by people who is my most extraordinary, iconic, legendary person, and I always say the Queen, because it sounds however anyone wants it to sound, but for me, I'm lucky enough to just absolutely honor, adore, never met anyone like Her Majesty in my life. I mean, she's just, you can't explain her.
Has she been kind to you?
Oh, I mean, I always say I am the luckiest girl alive, because the most extraordinary example of love, kindness, forgiveness, and understanding. I suppose that's where Andrew gets his understanding too. Is just no judgment, just kindness. I'm very lucky. Yeah.
Do you still get very frustrated, angry, annoyed about how sometimes you're portrayed in the media? Or does it just wash off your back now? Oh
no, never. Oh my gosh, I'm the most stratospherically sensitive person you'll ever meet, and I mind desperately. What I do now is when it's very strange to say, but it's sort of, I realize, because a lot of people get a lot of through the cyberbullying and trolling and all these things, that I sort of understand now that I'm not the only person that is being completely obliterated or whatever. And I think it becomes from when Diana and I, when we went through that period where we were just the two of us, really, who one day she was up and I was up, and Saint and Sinner and all this. Yeah. And I think if we look back at some of the front pages that were written about either her or I think people would go, no, it's not possible, it didn't happen. And so I think then I didn't get a thick skin, but I had to understand, stop trying to people please, stop trying to get everyone to like you, be yourself, and they can make a choice if they want to or not. So it's not that I do mind. I don't sell myself now. I don't say, oh, Iain, I didn't throw the apple at the whatever I meant to have done or something. I just keep going, and hopefully people can make their own mind up. But it still affects me, and I still mind. But then 6 o'clock, glass of wine, get on with it.
Did you know, by the way, that I was the boyfriend that Diana never knew that she had? Because I bought a car, an Audi Cabriolet, which it turned out she used to own. And I used to get stopped by a paparazzi driving around Trafalgar Square with the roof down. And they'd literally stop the traffic and say, "Are you Diana's new man?"
Oh, cool is that?
It was very cool.
Oh, it's very nice to meet you, Diana's new man.
Listen, we will. I'll let
I've
you go
always,
now.
I like men with bald heads.
well, there you go. Well, is that a chat up line?
No, because you've got a nice partner that you sit and watch Gentleman Jack with.
I do. Now listen, I'm going to let you go because I know you've got another appointment, but just to say, if you'd like to buy Sarah's book, it's called Her Heart for a Compass by Sarah Ferguson, Duchess of York. It's now available in paperback at £8.99, published by Mills and Boon. So it's been an absolute pleasure. Really enjoyed talking to you. Thank you very much.
And Iain, it's been a great treat to talk to you too. And again, thank you everyone for listening.
And we'll speak again maybe when your next book comes out. Thank you.